They say he butchered thousands.
He commanded a forced labor camp.
Now millions cry for justice.
Let me know when you hang the Cardassian.
But only one will stand against him.
Look at the hate in her eyes.
The war is over.
How many Cardassians did you kill?
We had no choice.
But Kira's battle has just begun.
He was there. He did it.
On the next episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
There's a bigger issue here. Just because a group of people belong to the Federation, it does not mean that they are saints. The trouble is Earth. On Earth, there is no poverty, no crime, no war. You look out the window of Starfleet headquarters and you see paradise. Well, it's easy to be a saint in paradise. Out there, all the problems haven't been solved yet. Out there are no saints, just people. Angry, scared, determined people who are going to do whatever it takes to survive.
What I want to know is, out of all the stories you told me, which ones were true and which ones weren't?
My dear doctor, they're all true.
Even the lies?
Especially the lies.
On behalf of the Bajoran government
And the Promenade Merchants Association.
I officially welcome you to Deep Space Nine.
Hello, everyone out there in podcast land. Welcome to Especially the Lies at Deep Space Nine podcast, part of the Front Row Network and NPR Illinois Community Voices. We're a group of newbies watching Deep Space Nine for the very first time, and a group of whatever watching it for at least the second time, Mike. And we are here today to talk about the penultimate episode of season 1, Duet. I'm Scott, and with me is
Emily,
Mike,
Nicole,
Prentice,
and Jessi.
We're all here tonight. It's great.
Woo! Woohoo!
But we don't have any reviews this week, so I can't read any reviews. So please go over to Apple and leave us a review before I have to start begging, more so than I already do. And a reminder to join us on our social media. All of our accounts are listed down below. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, and others that I'm blanking on right now. We're all over the place. We actually just had a really good conversation on the Reddit Deep Space Nine account with a discussion of Duet that, as of right now, has about 400 replies. So thanks. That's cool. Okay, we're going to go ahead and dive right in to the episode, and we're going to go to Jessi for our synopsis.
Yes, after a Cardassian man arrives on the station suffering from an illness that he could only have contracted at a Bajoran labor camp during the occupation, Major Kira leads an investigation to determine whether he is actually a notorious war criminal.
As one does. Okay, let's go over to our newbies who have not watched past Duet. Nicole, first impressions.
This was a heavy episode. I don't really know how I feel about it. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was really uncomfortable and hard to watch at certain points. I really didn't expect it to be a guy who changed his face at the end. I really thought like he was this awful leader guy, and then all of a sudden the twist at the end. But I'll tell you one thing that I really enjoyed was the evolution of Kira throughout this whole episode, from the beginning to the end. And just the ending was just like a literal stab in the heart. Like, it was brutal. This was a emotional episode. It was very, probably the heaviest one I think we've seen so far. Probably the hardest one for me to digest. I had to watch it twice because it was just like, damn. That being said, I didn't dislike it. I just didn't expect it to be as heavy as it was and to address the topics it was going to address. I thought the title Duet, I thought it had something to do with singing or an entertainer or some weird quirk bar thing. And I was very much wrong about that. I think the character development was just incredible in this episode. And I think that's really what did it for me.
Christopher.
This was the best episode of the season so far. I know there's only one left. Thanks to your word of the day calendar, Scott, for the penultimate, but this was the best of the season, and it may be one of the best episodes of Trek that I've ever seen, and maybe one of the best episodes of television that I've seen. I thought it was that good. The ending monologue was on level of like two cathedrals from the West Wing for me. That's how powerful I thought it was. I immediately recognized the guest star Harris Yulin as the judge from Ghostbusters 2. So I loved that. This was a great episode.
Jessi.
Yeah, I would agree with Chris. I loved it. I loved it a lot.
You didn't hate it?
No, I didn't hate it. It's very much giving I'm gonna piss a bunch of people off vibes because yeah, I just kept hearing things and going, oh, that's what that reminds me. Oh, that's what oh yeah, no, that's just because they're Kardashian, huh? Kardashian. So yeah, I loved it. I watched it twice voluntarily. You're welcome.
And let's go over to our folks who have watched the entire series. Emily, first impressions.
It is a really good episode, but it is really heavy and it can be hard to watch. It's been a while since I've seen it and I forgot just how heavy it is. But it's really impressive to see the growth in the actors' like abilities so far throughout the season and even the character development within the show. Like Kira's change just throughout this episode alone was huge.
Prentice.
You know, I forgot this episode was in season 1. It's that good. So well written. The acting and even the intensity that Paris Yulon brought to the role was amazing. You didn't want to turn away from the screen. The acting was superb. I would also say that I also like the development of Kira and Cisco's relationship. You see the further progression when, look, he said, I want somebody else to take this investigation. I need somebody objective. She says, we're friends now. We built this relationship. Trust me. And you see that trust is really growing and he relented, even though in my position, I probably would not have done that. She was too close to this subject, but it gives weight to the friendship they've developed this season. Amazing episode.
Yeah, I think that actually answers the question we had from some of the newbies last week is how was Kira and Cisco's relationship going to be different? And well, we see the answer. Mike.
Yeah, I mean, everybody else said it already. This was easily the best episode of the season. It's honestly maybe one of the best episodes in the series. I don't want to speak too soon, but the subject matter was heavy. It's really well written. The performances were great. I mean, Harris Yulin gives a truly commanding performance in really the several different kind of characters that he plays throughout this. And I was going to point out too, so I'm glad Prentice beat me to it, the kind of growing relationship between Cisco and Kira and the kind of relief that I had at the end of the episode that Kira really did grow and really didn't betray Cisco's trust in her. You know, it really did prove her personal growth, not just, you know, that she was kind of flexing that friendship to get what she wanted. So it's very, very good.
Yeah, and I will say, Mike, I think if you look at kind of rankings of DS9 episodes and Star Trek episodes, Duet, if it's not rated in the 1, 2, or 3 column, it is in the top 10 almost everywhere. For me personally, this is where DS9 finds its legs. I think this is the quintessential what DS9 does for Star Trek. It really just kind of sticks a mirror in front of people and says, this is the shit you have to deal with, and we're going to deal with it, and we're going to not have a happy ending at the end. This dude's going to get shanked. And what I love about, Mike, to your point about Kira, she gets shoved in front of a mirror too, and we're that guy an hour ago, and you hated all Cardassians, and now you see what you were. And I just love this episode. Christopher, you said that Yulin is the judge from Ghostbusters 2. Absolutely. I think he's the best part of Ghostbusters 2. But he's also, if you're a Jack Ryan fan, James Cutter from Clear and Present Danger, the NSA director. He's really good in that too. Really good. All right, let's get going. And this is one of the few DS9 episodes that doesn't have a B plot. So it's all A all the time. So let's dive in. Where do you guys want to start? Nicole.
So one thing that I wrote down that really kind of fucked with me and made me very uncomfortable was when he said, what you call genocide, I call a day's work. I was just like, oh, fuck. That was rough. What really got me throughout this whole episode was it was very... It's like there was moments where he was so sinister and he had this evil smirk and he was poking at her and poking at her and poking at her. And then at the end when he broke down and he was like crying and like saying how he was a coward and he hid in the corner, I was like, oh, like it just kind of blew my mind a little bit. I wasn't expecting that. When they said that he altered his face, I was like, okay, well, maybe he's like an enthusiast or somebody who liked this leader and wanted to emulate them or be them or whatever, because he was really good at making you believe that he was this evil tyrant and he did all these horrible things. And then at the end, when she's questioning him and he starts breaking down, he was just that guy who was hiding under his desk and crying and like afraid. And he wanted to be punished because he felt like everyone needed to be punished. And I think he had a lot of guilt with him. But like you said, Scott, about how Kira was kind of forced to look in the mirror and face things too, I think that maybe that's kind of where the name Duet came in, right? Because they were both having this epiphany and having this. When the episode was finally ending at the end, I kind of got that. I was like, oh, now I get why it's Duet. And they were kind of going on this journey simultaneously. So then when I watched the second time, I was just even a little bit more mind blown over it, because it really makes you think, and it makes you face uncomfortable things, and you're forced to hear about, the mothers being raped and the fathers being beaten and the old people being buried alive, and forced to hear about this, and then he's being sinister and then she's being aggressive, and it was just like a tug of war on your emotions throughout the whole thing. And I loved your example, Christopher. I also kind of thought the two cathedrals dynamic too. I'm like, this is very powerful. But yeah, also, how the hell did I watch it twice and not realize it was the frickin' judge from Ghostbusters? What the hell is wrong with me? I'm mad at myself for
To your
that.
point, Nicole, when about the line about to you is genocide, to me it's all in a day's work. Scott has pointed out on several occasions in this podcast that the Cardassians are Nazis in space. The top leadership of the Nazis, none of them ever apologized. They either killed themselves or, they were defiant. As was Itza at the beginning. He was defiant that what they were doing was right and justified and for the good of Cardassia and for the glory of the Empire. And so that allegory was very, very spot on. And it really hit home how evil they were, because if we had, we haven't watched any of this, so we didn't know how evil they were. I was not expecting them to be this evil.
You ain't seen nothing yet. This is just set up.
Great.
Kind of tied into what Chris was talking about. The betrayal up until this point of the Cardassians since the next generation has been Nazis in space. They cannot be trusted. Evil, menacing, plotting, conniving. When he broke down and admitted to what was actually happening, that was the first time you saw a little bit of humanity within how the Cardassians are depicted in this series. Because I cannot remember another time where I've seen them actually kind of be humanized, say, hey, I do want to atone for what we did. We did do some jacked up things to the Bajoran people. All the other ones that you see in the series, they're kind of like, yeah, we did that, unfortunate situation. But hey, that was his business. Nothing personal. So the way he portrayed it, humanizing, even the Cardassian people knew some of the things they did and they witnessed was terrible. But I thought that was well done. That's the first time you see another dimension to even a Cardassian character in the series.
Jessi.
Let me set my soapbox up and let me just say ahead of time, don't at me. I don't fucking care if you like what I'm about to say or not. But it currently reminds me of what's going on maybe a little bit over the seas with 52,000 dead and 117,000 harmed. 80 to 90% of their whole entire country has been damaged. And people are killing them because of where they live and who they are. And so you can't tell me that this does not ring true in 2025. And I don't care why it's happening, other than we know why it's happening. I don't care what they said has happened. I don't care about the terrorism that they alleged continues to happen. They're killing women and children just for simply existing. They're living fucking live Call of Duty type shit. And it's disgusting. And I'm watching this, and to hear him say that out loud, for me, it's just another day. Like, my heart breaks for people who, like, they don't have a choice for where they live. They lost the fucking geographical lottery. They don't have a choice. And to see a very powerful, very rich country take the mindset of it's just another day. Oh, it ripped my heart out today. And you talk about it being heavy, but to see it on screen manifest in front of you from 30 years ago, it's
That's
rough.
not the only parallel today. We're rounding people up because of their immigration status or lack thereof, or not even because there's a 2-year-old who was just sent to Honduras who's a U.S. citizen.
Citizens, people, citizens. Let's just let that sink in.
Sending them to some of the most brutal prison camps in the world, and we know exactly what we're doing, and refusing to send people home who we sent there because of an administrative mistake. So the parallels are there, and we need to watch closely and learn.
Like I said when I was talking about my first impression, there's so many things in this show that ticked off multiple oh my gosh moments. And the talk about due process lately has been up forefront and center for what's going on. And me and my husband were having a conversation about due process. And he was like, well, they just are supposed to have a trial, right? And I'm like, there's so many things that are supposed to happen in a democracy, and they're not. And watching this leads me to my next one. I was going to do it separately, but it leads me to the next one where Kira is like, I don't really care if he's guilty. I want him to be guilty. And that leads me to planting evidence and all of the fun things that have happened across this country to people of color, the fucking stop and frisk in New York, and just the fucking violation of rights of people who didn't look like me all the time, and like the lack of it having any impact on crime in New York City at all. And it's just like, these are the things that I have studied, and I have, oh my gosh, over and over and over. And I'm watching this happen, and I'm watching Kira say, I don't care what he did, he's going to sit in jail. And I'm like, he's going to sit there until she can find reason for him to sit there. And that bothers me. I understand the concept of the sci-fi. It makes for a good story, but watching it again happen on TV, and it's like, wow, this is really heavy, because like, she wants him to be guilty. So therefore she's going to make him guilty. And that, friends, is how very bad things happen to people in America over and over and over.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought up the due process piece. That's huge. Emily.
I think Jessi brought up a really good point with Kira. And one of the things about this episode is it highlights how complex like emotions are and how we respond to traumatic events. And at her core, I don't really think Kira's like, I'm going to make him be guilty.
Right.
It's the anger and the hurt of everything and wanting someone to be held accountable, because so far, they haven't been held accountable for what they did to Jorans. Like, we have seen no accountability. Gul Dukat can still chat with Cisco. The frustration she has with the neutrality of the Federation at this point, and really struggling with it. And how her anger comes out is so incredibly dangerous, because for a while there, it's like, is she really going to try to set this guy up without evidence? And like, Odo knows Kira. And he's also not going to let shit slide, because he's very fact oriented, shall we say, and is willing to put in the work to find out what's actually going on. And I think how they show her evolution from that level of anger, of like willing to set someone up to take the fall, which he wanted, which is also an interesting way to play it, to at the end feeling guilty because he wasn't who they all thought he was.
Nicole.
So one of the things that I wrote down where I think this change in Kira happened was how she was saying, I want him to be guilty and I hope he's guilty and all that, like you were saying, Jessi. But it was Dax that kind of talked her off the ledge a little bit. I feel like Dax was almost like holding up a mirror to her, you know, and kind of trying to talk her off the ledge and trying to like make her realize how she was kind of starting to spiral into a bad direction or whatever. And I think that's kind of when Kira started maybe evolving a little bit and maybe realizing that like she was so desperate for vengeance and someone to be held accountable, and that she was like willing to just, you know, not give him a fair shot. But Dax kind of brought her back to reality a little bit. And I thought that was a really important piece of the transition throughout the episode, that discussion. Even though it was brief and Dax didn't say much, it was really impactful, I thought, and like kind of where things started to change a little bit.
Jessi.
Yeah, Nicole brings up a good point, because that's why I have such a hard time with the thin blue line bullshit, because like, it's, you know what, listen, I'm pro law enforcement when they're doing their job. But like, if you have too many Kiras, people start to be wrongly convicted for things that they didn't do. So Kira was lucky that she had Dax there and Odo, right? So it looked like they had multiple of the good cops on board. But had they not, had they all been Bajoran, how do we know that they wouldn't have continued down that thin blue line stuff, right? So my point here is I found it interesting that they used the word vengeance, because we were having that conversation about justice back during a previous episode. And I said, they don't want, what I say, they don't want justice, they want punishment. And vengeance is the perfect word for it until Dax says, vengeance isn't enough. And that's 100%, like, doesn't bring back. And even, what's his name? The guy the prisoner, sorry.
Maritza.
Yes, thank you. He even said, it's not going to bring back your loved ones. It's not going to bring back anybody. And that they're not wrong. Like, everybody thinks that they want vengeance for what's happened, but watching somebody get put to death doesn't bring it back, doesn't fix it. It doesn't do anything. And I can't tell you that it would even make me feel better about my person being dead. So I think vengeance was a perfect word for them to use.
Yeah, I kind of wrote that down too, Jessi, about how it was like, go ahead and kill me. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. They're all dead anyways. What's it going to make a difference?
Right.
And he basically called her ass out on it and was like, go ahead, kill me. What's it going to matter? And I thought that was kind of brutal, but like, also he's right. I mean, it's not going to bring anyone back, so that's kind of like that, that conflict. It's like, in the moment you might think it might make you feel better, but also what's it going to do? It's not going to bring anybody back, and it's not going to make a difference. So at first I kind of thought, oh, that was pretty awful of him to say, but also like he kind of had a point. Even he said it right to her face. I was like, this guy is fucking brutal, man. So that's why at the end my mind was blown. I'm still like, can't get over it. Like, I can't get over it that that's not who he really was.
He was a phenomenal actor.
Oh yeah.
Like he was so pompous and so arrogant, and I know that was also part of the acting. That was his character acting, which shows like levels of depth to the actor himself. And I was watching him, and before we knew what was going on, I was like, why is this guy such a fucking dickhead? Like,
yeah,
you don't have to be so goddamn arrogant. A shitload of her people died. Why don't you just fucking close your mouth? If you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
Yeah, he was praising himself very much and like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, calm down, Small Penis Club, like chill,
Right.
If you truly believed in the cause, you would be that pompous and arrogant. I'm not saying that that it's right, like, or that it's justified, but if you truly believed in that, you would be that arrogant. And no matter what she said to you, when he talked down to her so much when everyone believed that he was Goldar heel. He talked so condescendingly to her, called her girl on a few occasions, I believe. And but you would expect him to, right? You would not expect a leader of that sort of camp to be, remorseful.
Sure. But I even thought that before we knew he was allegedly the leader. So like before, you know what I mean? Before I knew, and you're right, you're not wrong. You're absolutely right. Like if he is that guy, like if he's Hitler, then yeah, Hitler's going to be like that. Right. So I agree with you, but like, I even thought it, and you're not wrong, I thought he was just the clerk, the mail clerk or whatever, filing, whatever he did, that guy.
The fact that like they kept bringing that up, that he was just a file clerk and that he wouldn't be, teaching at a military academy as a file clerk, I found laughable because I was a yeoman in the Navy. So I did paperwork. I made sure that everybody got paid, that their leave was taken care of, everything that everyone else needed to not be able to think about so they could do their jobs was my job, right? And you absolutely go to school for that, and somebody instructs you on how to do that, right? So that made me chuckle because I know they absolutely send military instructors for file clerks out there.
Well, and we find out later he was actually teaching filing. That's what he was doing.
Yes.
Nicole.
I was just going to kind of harken back to the whole, like, the way that he was talking down to Kira and how condescending and like how, like, he was just not respecting her and just being really pompous and arrogant. Shout out to her, man, because I would have punched him in his face if he talked to me that way, because no one's there. No one can see it. No one would have known if I would have assaulted his ass, and I would have felt better in the moment, which also, again, it is the problem, like the whole vengeance and anger thing. But the fact that she was able to when he was like, oh, go ahead and leave right when I want to ask you questions. And she doubled down and sat down and was like, okay, fine, bring it on. She had a lot of strength inside of her to not only dismiss his arrogance and his disrespect, but to challenge him when he tried to challenge her back. And props to her, because not everybody would be able to do that, you know, especially with the way that he was acting and the things that he was saying that were so hurtful and like harmful, and the things that she was fighting to liberate. Not everyone would be able to sit there and look this dude in the face and have those discussions with him. So I do have to say, her character, props to her, but also her acting on this one was great as well, because even though it was the part and she had to act that emotion and that like strength comes from somewhere. Do you know what I mean? So like, I just was very impressed with that as well.
Mike.
Yeah, I know. I think that's a really good point, and I was just going to point out that I'm sure you guys probably agree. Like, I don't think episode 1 Kira would have had that strength and restraint either. So it already shows that she as a character has grown a great deal throughout the course of season 1. Just like we've talked about her relationship with Cisco. I'm sure there's it's not an accident that those two things happen. That's a really good point to bring up.
Yeah, and you guys have hit on so much. Just a couple things on the background piece. This episode it amazes me how small episodes can become the quintessential ones that you go back to. In this case, this was a spec script or a pitch that was somebody has to deal with their enemy. That was basically it. And then a little later on, they started looking at a play that was put out quite a bit earlier, which actually, by the way, Leonard Nimoy portrayed one of the characters in the play back in the day. The name of the play was The Man in the Glass Booth, which was dealing with Nuremberg and dealing with a Jew who is thought to be a war criminal. And that's where that came from. So obviously there is much dealing with the Holocaust and Nazis and everything else. But what really intrigues me about this episode is, as I've mentioned a couple times already, the production was out of money. Emissary was very expensive. A lot of other episodes, believe it or not, the storyteller was really expensive. So they had legitimately no money left for this season. And so Michael Piller went to the writer of this episode and said, hey man, I need you to make me an episode that costs nothing. And he did. And this is what we got. To Christopher's point, one of the best TV show episodes of all time. And it was written because they were in a pinch. I just love that. Mike, what do you got?
It's kind of funny. I actually had 2 points. The first one was that, related to the story of this episode, to me, this felt like a really big payoff, the whole Bajor Cardassian conflict that's been teased since the very first episode. And I say teased because we've flitted back and forth between Bajor and DS9 and kind of heard a little bit of this and that as far as those progress struggles or, the provisional government trying to get its legs under it. But what we've really not seen is any direct allusions past the first episode to the occupation. So this was the first time that they addressed it head on and went full speed at it time. You actually then also brought up or triggered something in me, and I don't know, this is like almost completely off topic, but
I'm all about triggering. Go for it.
On the subject of like them turning this episode, they were given this impossible task of like, let's make an episode as cheaply as possible to pad the season and having like gold come out of it. I just think it's kind of funny because I was having a conversation with somebody just the other day about how I felt like one of the very few positive things that came out of the whole like COVID lockdown movement was that we had this whole really weird homegrown like new form of entertainment or style of entertainment that popped up. We had, I know there were all kinds of bands and comedians that I like and love that I followed on social media who were like performing concerts in their living rooms and stuff like that. It was actually like a really cool thing. I enjoyed the hell out of the Saturday Night Live episodes where they like all separately recorded pieces and pieced it together. Like it's kind of incredible. And so this is just like a reminder of that era. And like sometimes hardship, a little bit of pressure and a little bit of hardship forges something really great.
Yeah. Emily, what do you got?
Okay, well, I'm going to completely derail it. And
gee, I'm shocked. Shocked,
yeah,
I say.
But not anything smutty. One of the things I appreciate about this episode is that So far, we have not seen a lot of Gold Ducat, but what we have seen is he's an arrogant asshole. He feels no remorse. He doesn't feel bad. He seems kind of salty that Cardassia left and he wants the station back. And now we have this new Cardassian, and he feels guilt and remorse for being complicit in the horrors. And I feel like that's something that doesn't get covered much. Honestly, I have no idea how much it happens. I don't know how much people who are complicit in these atrocities ever feel remorse or guilt, or if they've acknowledged what they've done. But I do appreciate that this episode tries to explore that aspect of a horrific situation.
One question I have for the newbies too with this is, and Nicole, you kind of already hit on it with your introduction, but feel free to chime in as well. When did you figure out the twist, if at all? When did you figure out the twist?
I didn't. When they said that he altered his face to look whatever, I thought, okay, well, maybe he's like a sympathizer, like somebody who wants to emulate or be the bad guy. I didn't realize it was Maritza until the very end.
Same.
When they presented the death certificate, when Oda was talking and he died 6 years ago, I was like, oh, okay, then he really is Maritza. He's not, who he says he is. And but yeah, I mean, late in the episode.
See, I thought they faked the death certificate. I thought it was bullshit because you can't really trust Gul Dukat either, Like, the Cardassians are very similar to the actual Kardashians. They make everything worse. So,
it was bound to happen.
Yeah, I really felt like maybe they made it up, or maybe they were not giving Odo the right information, because they are shady little fuckers.
But Odo has a relationship with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Odo wouldn't have presented it as fact if it wasn't.
I guess.
Is how I felt.
Odo does have a history with Gold Ducat that they've hinted at.
I guess if it was anyone else but Odo, I would have thought maybe, but I think, maybe I just took it the wrong way because I don't trust them.
Well, there was that. I think there's a really deliberate moment where Odo said, forget which thing he said to Gul Dukat, but like where Dukat was visibly like, wait, what? Like it took him by surprise too, and I think that was like the tell.
When he was like, it would be wise if you let me see your files or whatever. And he was like, oh, yeah, okay.
Well, and Odo has a lot of experience with Quark, his scheming and falsifying shit. And Odo was on the station when the Cardassians were there. So he has a lot of experience with all these sketchy behaviors, shall we say.
Speaking of Quark, he had almost that little bit of humanity like showing through, and then he goes and ruins it.
Yeah.
And by like, I wonder if they gamble.
Yes.
You have like Holocaust survivors there. He's like the hell that they must have lived through, and then think that he's gonna leave it at that, and then like just for a second you think that, and then he's like, I wonder if they gamble. And I just loved it.
I mean, I know I harp on this a lot, but this is what I love about Deep Space Nine and why I continue to go back to this show is, again, it's a bottle episode. It is really about Kira and Gul Darheel / Maritza. That's it. But Quark gets a moment. Jadzia gets a moment. Cisco gets several. Odo gets several. O'Brien is kind of off to the side, but he's there.
I was gonna say, was this the episode where there was like a completely nonsense 20-second scene of O'Brien instructing some ensign to like move a crystal in a computer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We will come back. We will come back to that in the spoiler section, sir.
Excellent.
There's a reason. But yeah, so I mean, it's just not any other show, but a lot of shows, they're going to be like, okay, this is Kira, this is the Maritza, let's just go with it. And no, we give all of our characters, and Bashir as well too, we give all of our characters a moment. And I really do appreciate that. And we'll see a lot more of that as we continue to move forward. Anything else you guys want to talk about? I mean, I don't think we've pissed everyone off yet, Jessi. I mean, I'm so glad that we're watching a show that wasn't woke. I mean, I'm so happy about that. Yeah. Remember when Star Trek wasn't woke, don't you?
I'm not woke. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Okay.
Good talk.
No, I thought like the end of the episode when he was killed, right? Why did you do that? He is a Cardassian. That's reason enough. Even in that brief moment, like they're bringing up xenophobia is not really the right word. but they're bringing that to the surface and saying we can have a discussion about this as well. Is it justifiable? Is Bajor going to prosecute him? Or is he gonna, face charges on DS9 because it happened on the station? I think you would probably find a pretty sympathetic jury to let him go.
I can see where you say that, but that's like saying the same thing like that fucking little fuck that shot the like 9 people in the South Carolina church. The hate crime, the little white kid that shot the 9 black church people.
Yeah.
You remember?
Dylan
That's
something, that redhead.
Dylan something,
Yeah.
yes. It's like saying that you couldn't find a jury that would find him guilty. Like,
Yeah, but I mean, not to make this more depressing, but we've got Luigi right now who has like a freaking following, who shot a guy in the back. We have the kid up in Wisconsin who got off and is now doing the speaking tour because
that little fucker.
Thank you. He took an assault rifle to a parade. I mean, not parade, but to a riot. I mean, this is what we're dealing with. I can see, Christopher, that obviously Cisco kicks him off the station. I think that would happen immediately. He gets deported. But then after that, go tend farm on Bajor. Have a nice day. Thanks for killing a comedy.
I'm not saying it's right.
No, I know that. I know that. But they're not gonna just let him go when he killed somebody.
No, I imagine the Bajoran government will probably request that he be moved to Bajor for trial, and who knows, he might get a slap on the wrist or he might not.
I mean, it's not the same thing, but I go back to Operation Paperclip. A lot of people came over to the United States and started working for the government, and it really didn't matter.
I don't know what that is. What are you talking about?
That scientists who were brought over from Nazi Germany over to the United States to help us with our weaponry, with our space race. And we brought a lot of people over, and we kind of just ignored the fact that they worked for Nazis.
Sure did.
And they were Nazis. Kind of just ignored it.
Yeah.
Great.
Population of Argentina.
Yeah. I wasn't even going to go there. But yeah.
Shocking as to why we have hate listeners there.
Which, by the way, this is completely nothing to do with anything, but one of my favorite scenes about Argentinian Nazis is X-Men First Class, where Magneto goes down there and takes out some Nazis. I love that. That just makes my day. Nicole, did you have something else you wanted to add?
Sorry, Nicole.
That's okay. I was just going to comment on how Kira was talking to him right before he got stabbed about how they need more people like him because he wants to hold the Kardashians, sorry, accountable. And yeah, she was like, we need more people like you in this fight. And then all of a sudden the dude shanks him. And there could have been a step forward with this guy raising a fuss, or maybe he could have made change from the inside but now we'll never know because this dude just shanked his ass out of sheer hate because of who he was. It was like a knife in the heart, literally, like the whole ending of the episode. And I forgot who said it earlier. They're not going to give us the happy ending on this one. Mm-hmm. It just kind of dug it in and twisted it a little bit more after this heavy episode than giving you such a harsh, heavy ending. I was like, fuck. But also, it was kind of like the final piece of the episode to kind of make you really think. That mirror for Kira, so like I get why they did it, but it was hard to digest.
I already mentioned the writer, but I didn't say his name. Peter Allen Fields. Another really good thing about this is, again, no moment is wasted. Like the guy who shanks Maritza, we meet him in the first scene. He's
the drunk in the drunk tank.
There's just a drunk in the drunk tank. That means nothing. It's just there because we're populating the brig. No, he comes back, and he is the ending. It's just such good writing.
To be fair, it was pretty on the nose because they also gave him a speaking line in that first scene where he very clearly was like, "Oh, Kardashian, bro."
You can send your hate mail to Mike.
I'm just saying. They telegraphed that one pretty far.
They did.
To the duet point, at the beginning, Maritza, as he was kind of talking as Gardel Heel, we did this for the Empire, for the glory of the Empire. We needed your resources. And then at the end, Kira asks him, you didn't commit those crimes and you couldn't stop them. You're only one man. Why are you doing this? And he says, I have to be punished. Mm-hmm. We all have to be punished. You go out and tell them I'm Gardel Heel. It's the only way. For Cardassia. Cardassia will only survive if it stands in front of Bajor and admits the truth. My trial will force Cardassia to acknowledge his guilt. and that, he is bringing back that sort of patriotism, but now it's not for evil, it's for good. We need to be redeemed and say we did this terrible thing, but we are more than that.
Well, and that's why the Nuremberg trials were so important, because for one, it just for history's sake, it required that kind of stuff be brought up and talked about. And as we already discussed, the Cardassians are getting off easy. Gul Dukat, who was in charge of station before the Federation showed up, is still in charge of stuff. He's just a damn dirty Cardi. They all deserve to die.
We haven't seen enough of Gul Dukat yet at this point, so
yeah, we will. Marco Lamo's awesome. He's a great actor, and
he's a great villain that you'll love to hate.
Yes, which is what. And then also, again, without going into much spoilers, there are some points too where you're gonna be like, oh fuck, am I liking Gul Dukat now? Shit. Nope. Am I liking the Nazi? Damn it.
Absolutely not.
Are we the baddies?
Wow.
Yeah. And one thing I'll throw out there, and this means nothing to the newbies right now, and you can, to Jesse's point, you can at me for spoiling stuff. But one thing I do like is there will be another episode where we deal with Cardassians in kind of the same light, different characters, and it's called Waltz. So you have Duet and you have Waltz, and those two episodes together are interesting. So we'll get there. Anything else anyone wants to add before we get into questions, predictions? Okay, let's go to that. Questions and predictions. We are one episode away from the end of season 1, and we'll see if the newbies have any lingering questions or anything that they think may be coming up next. Jessi, questions, predictions? Nicole.
Are any more episodes going to be this fucking sad and heavy?
Yes, they'll be worse.
Great. Cool.
I use this one a lot, so I'll use it again. Just wait for the siege at AR 551. Just wait.
Yeah,
or I'll throw another one out there because, again, they don't know. In the pale moonlight. Have fun. Okay. Christopher, questions, predictions?
I want to know if there are going to be consequences for the drunk. And I know he has a name, but
he is the drunk.
Yeah. You don't say his name. Don't validate him, Christopher.
I also want to know, is there going to be consequences for the Cardassians? Are they going to have their own Nuremberg trials? Does something actually come of this?
We shall see. We'll go ahead and leave it there for the newbies. We'll definitely have some spoiler conversations to be had with these questions and predictions, and also some other things too that come up in this episode that we'll talk about. But we'll do that after we kick the newbies out. For those who are going to leave with them, come back next week. We have our season finale, and we are in the hands of the prophets is the next episode. And then the week after, we will take a break, but we'll also have our live season 1 recap show. So if you go to our YouTube channel, you can find the link to that already, and you can click the little notify button so you can know when we go live. But that will be Sunday, May 11th, 9 p.m. United States Central Time. So that will be our live season 1 recap, where we'll also be chatting with you all as well too. So be sure to join us for that. And then we'll drop the recording of that on the podcast the next week. And then season 2, 1 season down, 6 to go. Are you getting arrested, Christopher, right now?
I don't
Is that
know.
really happening?
This is like
I see a driver. Grab it.
yeah. No, like,
why are you taking us with us? Don't fucking incriminate us too.
This shit is gold. If he gets arrested,
look at this.
Is that a SWAT? Are you being swatted right now?
I don't know what
that literally looks like
let's
a SWAT
sign
truck.
off. So
No,
let's not. I want to record this. I want to put this on YouTube.
Go back to the window, Galvin. I want
Okay.
to see that again.
I saw a hose while we were over there. It's a fire truck.
I saw a hose.
Hey, just walk out there and be like, "Hey, fuckers, what are you guys doing out here?"
y'all got any ID?
What was it, George Carlin? Can you please bring the body closer to the car? My wife hasn't seen one mangled just that much.
Is it a fire? It looked like a fire truck. Is there a fire?
Yeah, no, I don't see anything on fire.
Well,
but
Christopher, if you would have done what I asked you to, I could have told you if it was a fire truck.
Yeah,
but
God
no.
damn it, you had one job.
when I walked over there and I saw a hose, and then I was like, oh, it's not interested anymore.
I see
It's a
lots
fire
of
truck.
hose. Can we see the hose?
I see
Yeah,
lots of
ask him where the hose at.
Jesus.
Saw a hose. Then that would be a hoe, not multiple
God.
hose.
Damn. I can't with you people. Okay. Until next week, I've been Scott, and with me has been
Emily,
Mike,
Christopher,
Nicole,
Prentice.
And Jessi. And if you want to talk shit about me, go to Facebook and at me at Scott McFarland.
Our Facebook is active, so please go over there, please. Okay, be gone,
I'm going to
newbies.
bed.
Doodles,
gone.
doodles.
Okay.
Wow.
Christopher,
See if something
say-
is actually on fire.
Say hi to the firefighters for us.
Good God. Goodbye.
Right.
good luck.
If they're hot, go twist your ankle.
May the Kardashians be with you. The Kardashians, whichever one. Thank you for listening to Especially the Lies, a Deep Space Nine podcast. You can find all the places to listen to and watch this podcast by searching for Especially the Lies on your podcast app or on YouTube. We want to hear from you, so join the conversation at Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review where you are listening to or watching this podcast. Especially the Lies is not affiliated with, and the podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by Paramount or any other owners of the Star Trek copyright. All clips included in this podcast are the intellectual property of the respected copyright holders. They are included here for purposes of review, and no infringement is intended.
Why have you brought me here? Show yourselves. What do you want?
The Cisco has returned to us.
He arrives with questions.
There are always questions.
Welcome back to our spoiler section. I was told online that we should call it Section 31. I don't know. I have like 15 names for it, so see what we can do. But we are here to talk spoilers for both what happened in Duet, but also throughout the show as well, too. So if you have not watched past Duet or just don't remember what happens next, you should exit now. If not, we'll go ahead and dive right in. And first off, Emily, let's get through these questions, predictions, and then I have some stuff I want to add, and I'm sure other people do as well.
Okay, well, poor Nicole. She wants to know if there'll be more episodes this sad and heavy, and ooh, boy, is she in for some doozies.
Oh my goodness, I could list off like 20 right now.
Do it.
It's only Paper Moon and the Pale Moonlight, CJAR 551, Waltz, which is, by the way, a weird episode. Gul Dukat goes crazy.
Yeah. The very ending, what we left behind.
What you leave behind. Actually, I think that. Go ahead, Prentice.
I was going to say, what's the name of the episode with Cisco and his son in the future?
The Visitor.
The Visitor.
Oh my God.
That was a good one.
The Visitor will kick your ass. Far Beyond the Stars is obviously a good one. I was, let's see, what's another one out there that just, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people yelling at us right now about episodes that we're not saying, but there's so many out there that are just spectacular. A couple that we'll get back to are, is everything falling apart? Homefront, where they go back to Earth and basically MAGA's taken over.
Yep.
There's so many good episodes. Oh, Past Tense, where we deal with homeless in 2024.
That's right.
That doesn't hit home at all. No. So yeah, there's so many, but I'm looking forward to it. Oh, another one that is a bottle episode that really hits me is The Sound of Her Voice, where they are picking up a transmission from a captain and they are speeding to save her, and then they find out that she has been dead for years, and they were getting a late transmission. It was bouncing off some timely-wimey stuff. That one hits too, and it's just a character piece. There's nothing else to it. It's just a character piece.
God, that one was rough. I had forgotten about that one.
You're welcome. Okay,
Thanks.
what else we got?
Okay, Christopher would like to know if there are any consequences for the guy who stabbed Maritza.
We'll never see him again.
No,
Yeah.
don't know. So yeah.
But I truly think, though, that, I mean, the provisional government, especially as the provisional government continues to fall apart, I think they'll just let the guy disappear. I don't foresee them putting him on trial. I really don't.
Yep, that would be my guess as well.
Then he asks if there's any consequences for the Cardassians.
Yes.
Joining up with the Dominion feels like a
I
consequence.
and that's the thing. I mean, the final episode of Deep Space Nine, we do. I mean, obviously, we have an end to the Prophets and Pa Race, who we have not dealt with yet. We have the end to the Dominion War, but we also have literally an end to the Cardassian Empire. I mean, it is obliterated, and at the founders at the very end just start massacring Cardassians, and it really is just kind of what goes around comes around. They have allowed their egos and their arrogance, and Damar, who we will get to know soon, gets sacrificed. I mean, he is the leader of what is trying to be
the
revolution to bring Cardassia back in the light, and in order to do that, it's very Christ-like. He has to get killed. So,
and it's interesting that that's like the consequences, whereas I think Christopher is asking more like, does the Federation ever do anything? Are there tribunals? Are there court cases? So we don't see any of that, but the consequences in the long run are quite severe.
It's kind of like the fact that Garrett spoke to that fact when he was on Cardassia Prime, and he was talking to Dr. Bashir. It's like, this is what we deserve.
Yeah.
Our lying in ruins, our once great civilization, because our hubris, our arrogance.
Absolutely.
And all this stuff. He summed it up greatly in that last episode.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's such a powerful scene too. And I mean, we learned so much more about the Cardassians as well. Their justice system. You are guilty, and then you have the trial. It is just for show. And poor O'Brien will suffer through one very soon.
Poor O'Brien.
But yeah, it's just we get to know these characters a lot. We get to know the Cardassians a lot. And like I said, there are some times where, like, I'm just thinking Zial. When Zial dies in front of Gul Dukat, you start thinking, oh my God. I mean, yes, Gul Dukat's an evil bastard, but that's his daughter. I mean,
who he comes around to actually caring about.
Yeah. And then, I mean, that whole piece, Gul Dukat is fighting alongside Garrick, and we're like, damn, am I supposed to like this guy now?
And that's what this show is so good at. It's the complexity of all the situations and emotions.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You brought this up in terms of the amount of episodes that have emotional resonance in this series. Deep Space Nine by far has the most touching episodes of all the Star Trek series. Mm-hmm. When I think about it, I think there's only one episode in The Next Generation that was that The Inner Light?
Yeah, The Inner Light is a big one. Yeah. But that's again, I mean, to that point, Prentice, that's another character piece. Nothing really happens as like, it's not a grand scale fight or anything. It's Picard is knocked out and relives somebody's lifetime. I think that's why Deep Space Nine has so many of these, is because they're stuck on the station. They have room to breathe. They have room to do these character pieces. And that's why we get so many good ones. I'm a little bit of a DS9 fanboy. It's fine.
Geez, I wouldn't have known that. Wow, that's a surprise.
And next week we get Emily's favorite character.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait for them to figure out who my character is for our little drawing. Holy shit.
Remember, she is Vedic Win, not Kai Win. She is Vedic Win right now.
Yep.
And we'll go back to Keiko in her classroom. Should be fun.
My God. That's gonna be a doozy of an episode. I'm sure we'll get hate mail for it.
Which I'm glad, Mike, you brought up the unknown Bajoran officer that just pops up nowhere.
Yeah.
She becomes the assassin next episode.
Oh.
Yep.
That's why she gets planned. It was actually, she was supposed to be in 2 episodes. We get to know her more. And the problem was that character was supposed to be in Forsaken, but the actor didn't work out. So they cut that piece out, and then they went to a new actor who was plopped in this episode. So we were supposed to meet her twice, before she turns into the villain. And there'll be times too where we'll get more of that. I think the one I'm thinking of that is really done well. Oh my God, what's his name? The Maquis. Oh, the security guy. Yeah. Okay, somebody help me.
Oh,
It's like
Bennington.
Bennington. No. It's close. You're close.
No, it's oh.
Please
fuck.
hold.
So I
God
want to say
damn it.
Carrington.
It's not
There's a
security
picture.
officer Lieutenant Donut.
No,
We never see him again.
I literally typed in Maquis DS9 and his picture is the first thing that pops up on Google. So what the fuck is his name?
Eddington. Michael Eddington.
Thank you.
There you go.
Like it's
So that's the one where
Eaton.
like we will get like that's what they were trying to do with this character here. Is
Yeah.
trying to kind of put her in a couple different things. They learned their lesson with Eddington, and we get a lot of him before he turncoats. So and that's another episode that we're gonna, we're talking about heavy themes. Freaking Cisco destroys a planet to take out Eddington.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
But it's Cisco, so it's fine, right?
Did we have anything else, Emily, that were brought from the newbies?
No, those were the questions for Nicole. She's gonna be in for a rough ride on some of these. Because
My
she's
sweet
like,
summer
especially
child.
the visitor, because she is of like the
Yes.
sap of all of us. And that one is gonna
Without a doubt, I cry during The Visitor every time I watch it. Every time, without a doubt.
it might give me feelings.
Oh,
I
It
be
might give you
about that.
feelings.
It might
says a
give me
lot.
feelings.
If you know Emily, I mean, that says a lot.
It makes me feel some things, and I don't know if I like that. Like,
So the one question I had for you guys, and then we can do something else if we want, or we can be done. But we talked about the fact that we all like Duet. I'm curious, is Duet your favorite episode? And if not, what is your favorite episode right now that you can think of?
Well, for me, Duet is up there in the top 5 for Deep Space Nine. The Visitor was another one that was really emotional, just from the standpoint of the relationship that Cisco had with Jake. Then we're talking about, the name escapes me right now, when they were doing the sci-fi noir in the 1950s. What was the name of the episode again?
Far Beyond the Stars.
Far Beyond Stars. That was
That's a
a
good one.
great episode. It touched on a lot of different issues I feel strongly about. But those, to me, are the top 3 episodes. Far Beyond the Stars, The Visitor, and Duet.
Yeah, that's a great list. That's a great list. Emily, what do you got?
I can't disagree with them because those 3 are just absolutely phenomenal.
Mike?
I don't know that I can offer you one. I really don't. This is one
I
that
put you on the
stands
spot.
out. Yeah, well, my memory's shit too. I can't remember half of what I've seen. But like I said, I will say, like, this is an episode that stood out in my mind as being one of the best ones. Like, as soon as I read the synopsis, I was like, oh shit, it's this one.
It's this one.
and frankly, the other one is probably Waltz.
Yeah,
is
okay.
another one that does stand out to me. So
The other one I'll throw out there, I like this list. I think everyone you guys have listed is really good. The one I'll throw out, because I really love Nog's character and I love Vic's character, is It's Only a Paper Moon.
Yeah.
Which is Nog dealing with the loss of his leg and wanting to just hide in Vic's Vegas. And oh my God, Aaron Eisenberg just is a tour de force in that episode. He is so good in that episode. So that's another one that really sticks out for me.
Yeah. Okay. And it's not one of the heavy ones, but if we're going to talk light episodes, the one where they weekend at Bernie's the Vorta. Oh my God. That one, just because.
We had this conversation and we were trying to figure out, is that the Magnificent Ferengi? Is that the episode?
Yes.
Where they go, they have to trade the Vorta Moogie?
Yes.
And it's Iggy Pop, and they just leave Iggy Pop bouncing into a wall on Impact Nor.
Yeah, it's.
And okay.
And that one is like, because it's so just comically absurd and just so very incompetent for me.
Like I want to jump in and say some of the more lighthearted ones, like Little Green Men is another really good one.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
But another one I just ran, like, I'm power scrolling through the names of episodes here, and immediately I stopped on Indiscretion in season 4 is another one that I really like.
What's that one about again?
That is where Kira and Gul Dukat team up to go after a lost prison ship.
And that's where we find Zial, right?
Yep.
Which, by the way, I sent this meme I saw today to you all on our side chat, and it's like, who had the best beard in Star Trek? And it had Riker, Cisco, Geordi, and then it said Garrick's best beard was Zial.
That's just fucking wrong.
Wow. Poor Gary. Oh, I want to mention, what was the name of the episode where Jake went to the Dominion control world that the Federation was trying to take over?
Siege at AR 551.
That was a good one too.
Yes. My thing too is, I mean, when we start getting into serialized pieces on this, there will be a lot of stories that go over multiple episodes, like the retaking of DS9 in season 6. The last 7 episodes of season 7, all of that stuff is just like, there's not one episode that really is the episode, although like Rocks and Shoals is a huge one in the retaking of DS9. But there's so many good storylines that bridge multiple episodes. And we're going to get the first one of those, and I really enjoy here in a few weeks with the Circle Trilogy, where we have the 3 episodes that starts off season 2, where there are Bajoran terrorists taking over the station. Anything else you guys want to talk about? I think this is like the one time where our spoiler section actually went for a long time. I like it.
Well, now that we have like more to talk about, since we're getting further in and we're finally getting to some of the real episodes, for lack of a better term,
then we're gonna we're inching up on the roller coaster, going up the hill, and then season 2 is gonna kind of level off for a bit. But then we'll be back.
Season 2 there's
like some good ones in season 2.
Okay, what is it? Is it Paradise? Is that season?
where they go to Ryza and everyone tries to fuck? Is that one?
No.
Oh no, you're talking Homefront.
No.
Hold on, let me double check, because I thought it was season 2, and so one, it makes me so viscerally angry. I'm gonna struggle to watch it. Where is it? La. Yeah, it's called Paradise, season 2, episode 15.
What's the synopsis?
Cisco and Chief O'Brien discover a colony which lives without technology. That bitch.
Yeah, okay. The other one God, we could list off so many. The other one that really hits hard is the one where there is a transporter accident and the crew of the Defiant are copied and they live an entire life where like Odo is the only one left because they all died. Dax has a new symbiote and Odo wipes them all out because he wants Kira to live. That one is huge.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on the name of that one right now, but that one is Odo is just like, yep, this entire civilization of hundreds of people, I don't care. Kira needs to live. The end. On that happy note.
Yeah.
Great happy note. Scott, one last question for you in terms of which was the only Deep Space Nine season where they were not running concurrently with any other series?
There wasn't one.
I thought there was at least part of one, right?
The DS9 was always the redheaded stepchild. TNG ended, and then immediately Voyager kicked off like the next. I think Voyager had a January start. So there was never a moment where DS9 had the airwaves to itself.
Just the fall of 94. That was it. Just the fall of 94.
Well, because I think Voyager, hold on, please hold.
Voyager was January 95. They just celebrated their 30th anniversary this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was literally, they had 6 months.
All Good Things aired 23rd of May, 1994.
Right.
And then Caretaker aired January 95. You're right. So there was like a few months, but at that point, UPN was already hyping up Voyager. So DS9 never got a moment to be in the sun. And actually, the Voyager pilot happens on Deep Space Nine for a few seconds. Like, hi. It's okay. It's okay. We've also had Picard come back, Janeway's come back, but frickin' Cisco hasn't come back yet.
So what is the deal? I've heard people say that he's been blackballed, or I've heard Sherlock Lofton say that he actually just retired. What's the real deal about what actually happened to Avery Brooks?
I think it depends on the interview and what he says. I mean, like when you watch What We Left Behind, the DS9 documentary, he was one of the few cast members who did not come back for that. So they used, old interviews in there for him. I've seen it both ways. I've seen it where Avery Brooks has said that he's retired, but I've also seen that one of the reasons why he is retired is because he couldn't get good acting gigs. I don't know.
Gotcha.
I don't know. It sucks. But we'll get there. I know Emily would like to see more of Avery Brooks.
I absolutely would. I would love to see more of his acting.
Just his acting?
Or singing. Look, we're not going to turn the smutty right now, all right? I am trying to be really hard to be respectful, okay?
That's another thing that when DS9 was coming up on the final few episodes of season 7, the last like fun episode was Bada Bing, Bada Bang, or Bada Boom. And that episode ends with Avery singing The Best Is Yet to Come. And that is just freaking, he's amazing when he sings that. And it also has meaning because, well, we got just 7 more episodes or whatever it is at that point. But we got some time for that. We're only on episode 20 of 174. So we got some time. Okay, guys, we'll go ahead and end it there. Appreciate you all continuing on this journey with us, especially as we come up on the final part of season 1. Again, reminder, next week we'll be back to talk In the Hands of the Prophet. And the week after that, we will have our live season 1 recap show on YouTube. And then we'll post that as the podcast for that week and then come right back for season 2. So be sure to join us on our social medias. Also, if you can, be sure to help us out on our Patreon, and a special thank you to our producers who are listed down below who are helping out with our largest donation of Patreon every single month. It really does help the show grow, and it also helps me with having to pay for all the editing and stuff. So I appreciate it. Okay, until next week, I've been Scott, and with me has been
Emily,
Mike,
Prentice.
Have a good one, folks. And next week we'll all hate Vedic win. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh God, I can't wait.
Space Karen. Yes.
Space Karen.
Space Karen.
Oh, my child.
You know what? I do actually say that to my kid.
Same.
Oh, my child. Yeah, he has no idea what it means yet. I don't think he's watched enough DS9 for it to click.
I don't want to hear a lot of malarkey about goblins and spooks and demons. We're going to stick to the facts in this case. Leave the ghost stories to the kiddies, understood? Reach back to a purer, sterner justice and have you burned at the stake!
Oh my God, the Scoleri brothers!